But that's a debate that I think every person that is involved in that has is where does it become restoration and where does it become revision?
Yeah.
And so, and that's why we tried different methods and used this film as a testing point because we could try things like, I mean, we did an experiment with AI and then went, no, this isn't ready for prime time, and it really isn't filmic looking. Dial it back. No, no, dial it out. Now get rid of it. So we went through that process.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, about what AI restoration even is? Because I don't know that people know. It's
Yeah,
a lot of people reference it, but I don't think they know what they're referencing.
yeah. A lot of times when the generic branding for what people will consider like an AI restoration is a lot of people just dump a video clip into a program called Topaz. Topaz can do really cool things with video. I'm not knocking Topaz, but if you take a film that's already properly been scanned and put it in Topaz, you're really just adding more artifacts and making the computer guess whatever parameters you want. Maybe I want it to be really sharp. Maybe I want it to be really smooth. Maybe I want it to be, you're putting in these parameters and then it's giving you a computer's idea of what it looks like at this other resolution. Or you can change the frame rate and say, I wanted it, maybe it was 60, now I want it to be 24, or maybe it was 24 and I want it to be 60. Maybe I want it to be slow motion now. It's very cool what it can do, but if you're trying to restore a film to how it looked, it's really not a tool that's going to do that for you. It might be a quick shortcut to making bad video of a film you like look like less bad video, but it's not going to restore something. And there's been uses where I can see Topaz AI being used on major films that have low resolution. And a lot of the time, what they're doing is setting a parameter to say, I want to remove artifacts. Like I want to, there's scaling around edges where, you can see stair stepping and aliasing. And people will use that and have used it in some of the big 4K restorations that are out there to try to smooth edges out, to make the film look more polished, and sometimes it just ends up looking odd. You can't put your finger on it, but you just know the trees look overly sharp here. They don't look like real trees. They look like the computer guessed what the trees would look like, and now they look like ferns on the ground instead of a tree in the air. It does some very odd things. People with extra teeth, their teeth don't quite align. It guesses what their eyes look like.
In
It's
the
not.
most recent restoration of the Terminator, James Cameron's Terminator, Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor are walking past this motel sign, and it's like the list of rules for the. I think maybe it's the motel's rules, and it looks like Arabesh from Star Wars. Like it's this chunky the
Yeah.
text, but it's only in like you have to pause it to even notice it. So maybe if people are like actively looking for these
Yeah.
faults, these signs of AI or of machine tinkering.
That one shot may have had a parameter that was set incorrectly that a QC person didn't catch. Or maybe they caught it and they said, I'd rather have it that way. It's possible. It's completely up to the person, the eye of the beholder. And if that's what that person that makes the call, if that's the call they make, that's the call they make. We as fans may not agree with it, but it is their film to make that call with. And so, you to some degree, that's the other thing is just because I'm a restoration supervisor doesn't mean I'm the client. And so I may want to do it this way, and the client may say, I want it cleaner. I want it dirtier. I want it grittier. I want it shinier. I want it bright. So it's you kind of have to go, here's what our team feels, and here's what our aesthetic preference would be. And here's what the client for this film wants. And then how do we make that work together?
As a film restoration specialist yourself, what do you personally think about the Peter Jackson Beatles 16 millimeter footage that he cleaned up for the documentary?
I've seen the footage when it came out on Disney Plus, and I immediately went, "Oh, I know what this is." I recognize this AI assisted upscaling. It
Is
does.
it the same stuff he used for the war, and they shall not grow old is I think the name of it?
I think that may have predated some of what that is because
Okay.
Topaz was kind of an off the shelf thing that kind of blew up during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that what it is? It's Topaz for the Beatles
Topaz
footage?
is a very frequent tool now, and they've kind of increased its ability to where it can be useful for certain things, but just not in the realm of. I don't think it has a place currently with the way that it is in actual restoration technology, because if you have a proper source, a proper 35 millimeter scan of something, or a 70 millimeter or 16,
16, yeah.
if it's scanned properly and and goes through a cleaning and then gets scanned with like an infrared scanner which detects, where there's actual damage, it can map that to the restoration software, and that way it automates the removal of the dirt and grain correctly, because it's going, here's where the hole is in the film, here's where the scratch is in the film. That's the best type of scanning. If you use that type of technology and get a good scan and there wasn't something wrong with the elements, you shouldn't need to use AI to get anything out of 35 millimeter. 16 and 8, I think 16 resolves pretty well without needing to use any sort of upscaling technology. If you were to take 8 millimeter footage, okay, and you're trying to blow it up to 4K, it's going to look rough. It's like blowing a VHS up. And I get where maybe that could be useful in some cases, but that one I think was a really neat experiment but it left all of the traces of that AI technology experiment on their faces, where everyone kind of looks like a wax figure and their hair takes on a different texture, and the backgrounds, um, if you see any text, it becomes blocky or doesn't resemble text at all. And that's because it's a computer's guess of what, through learning what other images may have looked like, and it's remaking that image from all the knowledge it has in its database of what this item may have looked like at a higher resolution. And they'll continue making that technology better and better. Um, but I think inherently what makes me feel wrong about it is it loses all the organic feel, which is what we fell in love with film in the first place. And so, like when we started using that, I had to take a step back and go, okay, if you're doing a restoration of something done in the digital realm, like if it was always digital, AI could be useful, but for actual proper film elements, it really doesn't have a good spot in there right now.
Yeah, well,